Serena and Venus Williams redefined what it meant to be a champion, and their influence on tennis cannot be overstated. Against all odds, these two dominated the sport for nearly 3 decades, and with their careers coming to an end, they're leaving the game better than they found it. In today's video, we're talking about how the Williams sisters created a tennis dynasty with a far-reaching legacy. Let's get started. First up, two sisters from Compton. It's almost impossible to imagine tennis without the Williams, but it wasn't always like this. You've probably heard that you could find pictures of the sisters holding tennis rackets in their strollers when they were babies, so in a way, this was always meant to be. But nobody could have predicted just how far these two would go and take the game with them, except maybe their father, Richard Williams. Rumors suggest that he had no interest in tennis until one day he caught a glimpse of the French Open broadcast and decided that he was going to race tennis stars. And that's where it all began. In their hometown of Compton, Venus got her first real tennis lesson at the age of 4, and Serena wasn't too far behind. The young sisters could always be found on the court, sometimes even as early as 6 a.m. Neither of them competed in a tournament until they went pro. They didn't play junior tournaments, as was the norm, but the hustle never stopped. Venus made her pro debut at 14 years old in 1994, and her sister followed a year later. The rest, as they say, is history. Next up, the rules never applied to them. The Williams sisters' rise in tennis was unprecedented. The two didn't come up through the proper channels like playing junior tournaments, becoming the best in those tournaments, then entering the pro circuit. No, Venus and Serena forged their own path to success. Mickey Lawler, the president of the Women's Tennis Association, commented that their trajectory was very different from the traditional, and she's completely right. From very early on in their careers, it was evident that these two were going to change the sport for the better forever, and nobody could have stopped them. For that, we're always indebted to the Williams. Following this, they always had each other. At every moment of her career, Serena has made a point to say that she wouldn't be where she was without her sister. No Serena without Venus. We've heard over and over again, and it's true in every way. Despite being each other's biggest rivals on the court, the bond they had never wavered. Back in 2018, the younger Williams shared that the two brought out the best in each other, and she knew that throughout their careers, they pushed each other to be their best versions. Of course, with their dominance over the game, it was obvious that the two would face each other quite often, and they did. Out of their 31 meetings, Serena won 19, but it was only Venus who could ever give her a hard time on the court. Nobody else was ever able to dim the light of Serena Williams. 9 of their meetings came in Grand Slam finals, including the 2017 Australian Open, where the younger Williams won her 23rd major whilst she was 8 weeks pregnant. It's the most incredible thing anybody's done in this game, and Venus was right there with her. Through thick and thin, the sisters stuck together. Coming up, it wasn't always pretty for them. It was never just the Williams versus whoever was on the other side of the net. At first, the sisters were outsiders in the sport that was predominantly white, and it wasn't super welcoming to them either. So every time either of them stepped on the court, they were also up against the people who were so desperate to see them fail, except they never failed. What makes the story of Venus and Serena so extraordinary is how much they had to overcome to simply play tennis, something their white counterparts never had to even think about. The sisters paved the way for women of color in this sport. For years, they had to put up with racist media as everything about them was scrutinized, from their outfits to their exaggerated outbursts to their mannerisms. Things were so bad that the sisters boycotted Indian Wells for over a decade because of racist behavior from the crowd. In front of a home state audience, Serena was subject to racism and boos when she was playing a final against Kim Clijsters. People hurled abuse at her father and sister in her box. Even after the younger Williams won the final, she was booed all throughout the ceremony. It's so impressive how they managed to hold their heads up high and take the sport to new heights, a sport that pushed back against them at every point. What's more, it went on for way too long. All this racial abuse towards the sisters wasn't a one-time thing either. It's something they had to deal with throughout their careers. Elena Dementieva accused Richard of rigging games in favor of his daughters. It was once revealed that Serena was dope tested almost 4 times more frequently than her peers, both male and female. Commentators, other players, the press, everybody went after them, trying to villainize them for simply being black and female. Speaking about this, the 23-time Grand Slam champion shared that it was something she had to get used to, but it shouldn't be normal at all. She said she realized very early on that people weren't going to root for her because she looked different than the other players. She needed to show people that it was okay that she was black and she played tennis. She stated that her parents prepared the sisters for this from a young age. It's so unfair that Venus and Serena had to put up with so much hate for simply wanting to play tennis, and it makes their achievements so much more meaningful. Moving on, their tennis was beautiful. The Williams sisters went through a journey like no other to get to the very top of the sport, but there was never a lack of talent in them. Both of them played an incredible game to create their legacy, and their tennis was almost perfect. It was simple yet effective. Annabelle Croft shared that Serena's serve motion was absolute perfection, and she never got tired of watching her serve. Mats Wilander added that Serena had the best serve of all time in the game of tennis. It was the most potent shot he'd ever seen. China Rubin commented that Venus was a very underrated competitor. She said that the older Williams was quick, tall, rangy, and aggressive, and she always found a way to get to the ball and create unbelievable shots. Few could even dream of achieving what these two have in their stellar playing careers. Serena has a record 23 Grand Slams, the highest by anybody in the Open era, and Venus has 7. They've spent a combined total of 330 weeks on world number 1. The sisters also have 14 major doubles titles and 8 Olympic gold medals. Really, who's doing it like them? Up next, they used their platform for the greater good. Serena and Venus changed the way people viewed tennis. Everything they had to go through or put up with was devastating, but the sisters didn't let it bring them down. It's thanks to the Williams that brands put equal amounts of money into supporting female athletes as they do with male ones. Especially Venus was instrumental during the Wimbledon equal prize money commitment. She played a huge role in getting all 4 Grand Slams to agree on further equality between women's and men's tennis. Oh, and they played an even bigger part in breaking racial barriers. Lastly, the Williams inspired generations. Perhaps the most obvious legacy the sisters have is these new generation players. Serena is widely regarded as the most impactful player of all time. So many young players have come forward to say that they couldn't imagine playing the sport if it wasn't for her and Venus. Naomi Osaka has said repeatedly that the Williams inspired her to pick up a racket, and she wouldn't be where she was today if not for them. Coco Gauff revealed that she always believed that she could be the best player in the world because when she was growing up, the world number 1 looked like her. After his excellent win over Rafa Nadal at the US Open, Francis Tiafoe spoke about Serena and shared that she was the reason he could even think about doing what he was doing. Felix Auger-Aliassime shared that the Williams were pioneers of tennis, and it was because of them that people like him believed and dreamed of playing at a high level. As mentioned earlier, their influence on the sport cannot be overstated. Serena and Venus found tennis, loved it, and left their mark on it forever. History will always remember them as the players who paved the way for generations of black and female players, and we're forever indebted to them for everything they've done. With Serena saying goodbye to the sport, now's as good a time as any to come together and celebrate 2 of the greatest players to ever step on the court. And that's a wrap for this video. What's your favorite Serena versus Venus match? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Goodbye, and see you in the next one.
I don't know, everyone from Jill to Isha I've ever been on, in my life, and I'm just so grateful to every single...
Là, elle avance encore pendant qu'elle joue la volée, c'est ce qui lui permet de faire le point.
Yes.
That stayed in.
Yes, Coronation requesting the radio, the call on that.